In this video, I'm going to show you the absolute best start for a bandit playthrough that I could come up with after nearly 400 hours of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. We'll end up with nearly 3,500 groschen, over 25,000 worth of loot in our chest, a horse, and tons of skill books to power level most skills. We'll do all of this in less than 24 hours from the start, but the best part, you won't have to pick a single lock. I've included a link to the Notion checklist I've created to make following along with this guide so much easier. Let's get to stealing. We'll be focusing primarily on theft, so I won't be covering much of the prologue, but if you need a little extra help with some of the game's mechanics, you can either watch the longer version of this video or Griff's starter guide. You'll find links to both of these in the description. Now, there are a handful of choices we need to make during the prologue, so let's cover them here. When meeting the garrison from Troskowitz Castle, be sure to pick I'm an advisor to a nobleman and an envoy, which will boost several non-combat stats, with speech and scholarship being the most important ones. A few moments later, we'll have a chance to pass a chat check. Using our elevated speech, we'll pass it by taking, as envoys we're offering an alliance. Once at the camp, go immediately to the backside of the horse pen into the small cave and put your 1,403 groschen in the chest. Later on, when you're talking around the campfire, be sure to pick I cleared things up with the husband to pick up more speech level. Next, we'll have the option to boost some non-combat skills. Pick I needed a bit of peace and quiet to increase scholarship. And finally, for the free levels, pick whichever weapon type you wish to use. As a thief using little to no armor, I recommend sword or marksmanship, but any of them will work. Next, we'll doggy paddle our way across the pond, but to be honest, I would much prefer to cross on something a bit more buoyant, like a battleship. And you can too with this video sponsor, World of Warships, a realistic naval warfare simulator that lets you take control of over 300 ships, from battleships to destroyers, cruisers to aircraft carriers. Compete in stunning 12v12 arenas on over 40 unique maps with a squad of friends or as a lone wolf. They're constantly adding new things, new ships, new nations, new cosmetics, and more to keep things fresh. The graphics are incredible, but my favorite part is the physics. Not only are projectiles modeled accurately with physics, but damage, penetration, and much more are as well. There's nothing quite like hitting a target from a huge distance and penetrating their ship. Right now, you can get access to a premium account for 20 days for free, the Japanese Tier 3 cruiser Tenryu, a port slot and commander, and unlock a series of combat missions for additional rewards like the US Tier 7 cruiser Boise, 7 super containers, 40 million credits, and 1 million elite commander XP. Click the link in the description now to get started on your naval warfare adventure. It's free to play on PC and consoles. Thank you so much to World of Warships for sponsoring the video, and let's get back to the guide. Once you've gone to Božena's house, you'll be confronted by bandits. Be sure to pick You Don't Look Like von Bergov's Men for the chat option, which allows us to pass a speech chat check with You're Looking in the Wrong Place.
He's a liar.
And for the last part of the prologue, we need to boost our reputation as much as we can. Tell Betty the innkeeper we're always ready, then, all right, we'll do it, and finally apologize with I'm sorry, which will raise our reputation with each of those options. Then progress until we're released from the pillory and we can start phase 2. Our first steps should be to put our clothes and gear on. While a naked Henry is quiet, he's also very easy to spot and from a far distance. Equip a weapon, torch, hood, belt, tunic, hose, and shoes. If you've killed and looted the bandits at Božena's, you'll have extra options, but otherwise just equip the default gear. The most important stats for a thief are conspicuousness, noise, and visibility. When hovering over a piece of gear, it will show blue numbers indicating that stats will be better, red for worse, and white unchanged. Noise is generally the most important since people can spot you through walls and doors if they hear you, but staying hidden or breaking line of sight will block 100% of their vision. So good positioning and low noise are key to avoiding detection. When we're being naughty, a little rabbit will appear at the top when someone suspects foul play. If they know something's wrong but they don't know who it was, you'll see this rabbit. If they suspect foul play and know it was you, but don't know where you are at the moment, you'll see this. Generally, when you're committing crimes, if you see this rabbit with the spyglass out, it means you'll be turned in and a wanted criminal shortly.
I'm going to jail!
When someone begins to detect you, the rabbit will turn yellow in an alert stance. As the ears start to go up, they are getting closer to spotting you. If you move away or get behind cover, the ears will go back down. Your conspicuousness stat is what determines how quickly these ears will go up and down, while your visibility stat determines at what distance they will start to spot you. Having low stats in all three is incredibly important, with noise being the most important. Before leaving our inventory, go to the Books tab and learn the recipe for Save Your Schnapps, which will give us Scholarship XP. Next, we need to chat with the lady yelling at us to our right. After a few lines, we'll have the option to ask for help. Pick that and say you need something to wear. Then pick I could use some armor, which is the only one we can pass at the moment and levels our speech up to 8. She'll give us a lockpick, but we don't really need it anyways. You can also say you need some money and she'll donate 5 groschen to you. Go through the rest of her chat options if you want to level up speech more, but it's not required. Next, we'll head into the scribe's room, take a right past the large wooden gate and go into the door on the left. Once inside, make a quick left and go through that door. You'll see a book stand with a book in the back to your right. Open the book and close it to get Scholarship XP and level 8 Scholarship. Time to start picking our perks now. For main level, take Charming Man to increase our reputation gain, which gives better pricing from vendors and makes guards less likely to search us. For speech, take both Polished Wares and Artisan to get better pricing when we go to sell our stolen wares later. Under Horsemanship, take Saddler to increase our thievery while pickpocketing. And finally, under Scholarship, take both Wonders of Man and Wonders of Nature to get a plus 20% boost to several skills: Craftsmanship, Alchemy, Survival, but most importantly, Thievery. I'm leaving all the other perks unselected for now since they won't help us for the purposes of this guide. Next, head back outside, make a left, and go through the barn. Then a quick left and head to the merchant's backyard. If you prefer a map view, it's back here. There are 1 to 2 people working back here, which we'll use to train up our thievery. Nobody patrols back here, so it's safe to pickpocket without being spotted. However, I recommend pressing escape and picking a save and exit to create a temporary save file here. This save can be reloaded as many times as you want and doesn't cost a Save Your Schnapps. The only downside is the next time we save and exit, this save will be overwritten. It's great to use when you need to practice or do something risky, so use it as often as you need. To pickpocket safely, go behind the target, crouch down, and look at one of their pouches. Generally, people have up to 2 pouches. A larger one on their back to hold general items like food, and a small front pouch which holds more important items like groschen and keys. It's important to note you'll have access to all items no matter which pouch you focus on. Hold the pickpocket button down to initiate the minigame. The longer we hold, the more time will go into the time bank, which gives us more time to check their items and steal them. However, the longer you hold, the more likely they are to catch you in the act, which is represented by the counter turning bright red and a rumbling sound getting louder and louder. Once you release the button, you'll enter the pockets to begin exploring. To see what items they have, we need to move the selector left or right and press E on a question mark to reveal it, and then E again to take the item. If we take an item, it removes a portion of the time you have left from the time bank. In order to actually take that item into our inventory, we must move the cursor back to the exit before time runs out or we'll get caught in the act. For our first pickpocket, try to get 7 seconds or more in the time bank and quickly take the closest item to the exit. It doesn't matter what the item is, since we'll only need the XP for now. Because we took her food, her back pouch disappeared, and we have to find an angle to see her front pouch to initiate the pickpocket again, which we can see is on her left hip. I was able to get 13 seconds the second time, which is enough to get the last 2 items, both keys and groschen. If a person has no more items in their inventory, their pouches will disappear since we can't steal their equipped items like clothing or weapons. This won't be enough XP to reach the next thievery level, so go after the other farmer if he's there, and if not, head through the barn area to pickpocket the others. It helps to be aware of how people and guards move around. This bailiff has a set route through the town, and he'll make a quick loop in here, stop for a few seconds, then proceed back out for several minutes before returning again. Once he's gone, it's mostly safe to pickpocket the guy working on the log pile. Once in a while, someone will spot you in the act, and if you're fast enough to let go of the search button, you'll get away without being caught. This lady now has a direct line of sight on the man we were trying to steal from, so it's best to improvise. In this case, I threw a rock to get her off the bench and facing the other way, then stole an item from her. With level 6 thievery finally achieved, we can take the perk Nimble Fingers, which gains time for pickpocketing faster. Next, go back through the barn and make a right. Head up the small hill and go to the guard on the left side of the stone building. Make sure nobody's walking around in front before pickpocketing this guard. We're after one set of keys here. Once we get the keys, back up and go around to the other side of the stone building and back through the large barn on the right. Once you're through the barn, make an immediate left when you get out and go to the small building. This is the armory, and it's illegal to step foot in here, which you can see by the red icon that pops up. Close the door behind you in case somebody walks by. We're after the chest on the back wall. Use the keys from the guard to open it up and take all the valuable loot. This is much easier to do if you sort items by price, which you can do by clicking here. I recommend taking everything worth more than 100 groschen, but don't go overburdened as we still have a lot of loot to take next. One important thing to note, if you open your own personal inventory, time in the game stops while you sort inventory. When you're looting a chest, dead body, etc., time continues to move forward. So don't spend too much time when looting or you risk somebody walking in and catching you in the act. It's easier to take only the high value stuff and get out quickly, or even take it all, back out, and drop stuff from your personal inventory when time is paused. Head back out of the armory and be sure to close the door behind you. If you don't, someone will take notice and start searching the area, which usually results in them checking the chest, noticing the stolen gear, and then pinning it on you. Next, we'll head across the street back to the scribe's room. Close the door behind you to block vision while you're stealing everything. Crouch down next to this cabinet in the middle so you won't be seen from either of the two windows. Rob everything from the little chest on the top left, then all 3 books from the top right. Next, scoot forward in range of the scribe and pickpocket him. He's got a ton of items, but we're interested in 2 sets of keys. Try not to take much from him until you've got both keys, or you won't be able to get back into his pouch without him catching you. Next, move to the right and look at this cabinet. As soon as you see the option to rob, stop moving and look at the windows to make sure nobody's walking by. Once it's clear, quickly look back and steal the recipe. Keep moving to your right and look for the sketch on the bookshelf. Like before, check the window before stealing it. Once you've got all that, go into your inventory and learn all 3 recipes. We're done with the scribe for now. Head outside and make a quick right to head up the stairs. One cool tip, if you find yourself getting caught often, drop inventory in the area that people keep spotting you from, and instead of paying attention to you, they'll spend time collecting the junk from the floor instead. Crouch and continue up the stairs. We're going to open the door and quickly go inside to the right. Don't waste time closing the door this time. Grab everything from the chest and grab the skill book on top of the cabinet. Head back outside and quickly close the door and head downstairs. Stop crouching when you get to the bottom to avoid looking suspicious. It's time to cross the street to the carpenter's burgage plot. Avoid walking in front of guards and check both ways for patrolling guards. Getting searched here would be very bad, as we would lose all of our loot. The carpenter is in the west corner pulling bark off a log. Pickpocket 2 sets of keys from him and then head over to his house. His wife does patrol the backyard and sometimes goes inside for a minute and back out, so be aware of that. Once it's clear, go inside, close the door behind you, and go through the door on the right. The chest is on the back wall underneath the staircase. Arrange by value and take the things that you'll be using most: polearms, shields, bows, or crossbows. At the very least, take the potions, recipe, crafting materials, groschen, repair kits, and dice. Then head back outside and close the door behind you. We're going through the big doors straight ahead and making a left to loot the beehives for food. At this point, you might be overburdened, so you've got 2 options. Drop some stuff or be slow. Walking overburdened is a great way to level up strength and vitality, but I prefer to move fast and get more loot. Head north to the first building on your right, which is the tailor's shop. We need to get a little creative here though. By throwing a rock through the window, we avoid being spotted by the tailor, and he will face away from the door, allowing us to sneak inside and pickpocket his keys and get back outside without being seen. I recommend taking both sets of keys, but you only need one to get into his chest. Next, we'll toss a rock through the second window to get him to walk past his chest, which will follow him in without being spotted and quickly open the chest, click the miscellaneous tab, take all the groschen, and get out before he turns around. If you don't mind being overburdened, you can take everything from his chest and you'll have well over 300 pounds worth of loot. We're finally done looting Troskowitz for the day since the other shops have guards and are much easier to loot at night when they're sleeping. Head north to get out, but take care not to cross the path of any guard. We're heading northwest towards the quest marker B, a little town Takov. Once there, speak to the blacksmith Radovan to get the next quest line.
Fucking steal.
He'll make you forge a sword. Just follow the tutorial and you'll be fine. He gives you access to your own bed with a shared chest and some free items like repair kits, smithing apron, and leather gloves. Put everything you're not using in the chest, especially stolen loot, so it has time to lose its stolen status. I also recommend sleeping for a single hour to get a free save to fall back on if needed. Moving on to Phase 3, we'll be heading south to Samine. Open up the map and right-click on this small patch of woods and head there. Collect all the loose arrows, the potion on the log, the bow, and everything inside the bag. We'll continue heading south next. Be sure to keep the road on your left and the woods on your right, and you'll eventually make it to Samine. Once you have Samine in sight, be careful not to go through the front curved archway, or you'll be sucked into a quest, but we want to continue stealing instead. Continue on the road and hop the fence into the horse enclosure where you'll spot pebbles.
That's my pebbles.
Speak to the groom Balate and choose the option Pebbles, then be reasonable, and since we have high speech skill, we'll pass and get our pebbles back for free. Follow the groom back to the pasture and pickpocket 3 things from him: 2 sets of keys and 1 stack of 400 groschen. Once you have the keys, go up to the 2nd floor above the barn and start stealing from all 3 chests. The first chest has his store's inventory, but be careful with the horse tax since each item weighs a lot and you'll quickly overburden yourself. At least take the potion, skill book, and cash. The second chest has a weapon sketch and crafting materials, and the last chest is mostly junk. Head back out to the road and call your horse over using X on PC. Do not equip anything on the horse that you just stole, or you'll be spotted immediately. We can move items from our personal inventory to our horses by pressing X, and we can equip horse tack by going to the horse tab in the top right and selecting the items we wish to equip. Your horse is an excellent way to carry more loot per trip, so use her carry capacity as much as you can. Continue to head into this small town to the west to the last shop on the left, the Saddler. This job is a bit trickier than the others. We need to distract the apprentice so we can pickpocket the Saddler. There's a spot by the fence that allows us to toss a rock and not be spotted by him. Quickly move behind the Saddler to pickpocket 2 sets of keys, then head into the house, but be aware of the patrolling wife. Luckily, she left the door open for me, but if you have to open it yourself, be sure to close it behind you. The shop chest is in the 2nd door on the right-hand side. I took everything in the chest for fear of being walked in on by the wife, but if you've got more time, take the high-value items only without going overburdened. There was still plenty of daylight left in my run, so I decided to walk overburdened to gain some strength and vitality, but feel free to dump gear in the bushes somewhere to move faster. We're heading south to the Miller Crazel, which is very close by. Once you reach the mill, speak to Miller Crazel to start the new quest and get access to another home bed and shared chest. Grab all the stored loot from your horse, head upstairs, go to the ladder to the 3rd floor, and drop everything off you're not using in the shared chest. Head back downstairs to find Crazel, who will either be roaming outside on the ground floor or grabbing food inside and eating. We need to pickpocket 2 sets of keys from him at least, but he's also got a couple potion recipes if you're feeling ambitious. Once you've got the keys, grab everything from both chests from the 2nd floor bedroom. The clothes stolen from here are some of the best in the game for stealth, but don't wear any of it until the stolen status wears off. Head back upstairs to drop it off. Head back outside and mount up. We're heading south to the back of the mill and then to the west to pick up our cash from the start of the game. Follow this road the whole way. You'll eventually cross a small bridge, stay to the right at the triangle intersection, and look for an abandoned building on your left. Head inside the abandoned building and take the Nighthawk potion and food from the countertop. Continue northeast along the left side. Hug the mountain and stay in the bushes to avoid being spotted by the bandits. Continue along the back side of the horse pen and make a left into the cave where we stored our money from the start of the game. With the money in hand, you could either sneak back out and go to the next target, or fight the bandits. If you're planning to fight the bandits, you can equip the dagger you stole from Crazel and use it to stealth kill them. Sneak up behind one, hold F to initiate the stealth kill, and keep an eye out for the crossed swords icon. Press left click attack as soon as you see this to keep the kill silent. If you miss the timing here, you'll still kill the target, but it will be much louder and potentially attract other bandits. When going for the stealth kill, the enemy has a chance to defend against it. You'll need to press block when the green shield icon pops up after the 2 swords. It's a very short sequence, so you'll need some practice to pull these off consistently. One final tip for stealth kills. You can spam the attack as many times as you want to hit the timing on the silent part of the attack. But you must time the block part perfectly because hitting block too early will automatically fail the defense. Finish off the rest of the bandits, including the sleeping ones in the tent, take all the loot, and get back to Pebbles and head south. We're heading back across the river near the Nomad camp. Passing through here will unlock the fast travel point, which you can use later to either sell loot to the 4 vendors here or train with Master Tomcat and unlock Master Strikes. At the Nomad camp intersection, head south through the forest back towards Sameen. It's always a best practice to avoid traveling through a town you recently stole from, so I went along the edge of town to avoid the guards. Head to the road right before it goes into the forest and continue until you reach the small grocer's village. Head south, but take the road on your left to stay east, which will take us to the other mill. I recommend dismounting outside the mill and avoid being spotted by anyone here. Make your way to the back side where you can enter the second floor from the outside. Head to the back on the right side to find a sleeping maid and pickpocket the keys from her. The chest is along the back wall near the stairs. Grab one of the best saddles in the game and a stealth skill book and head back outside. The next part is 100% optional, so don't rage in the comments, please. Head back north to the huntsman's house just across the stream and drink a quick finger potion. The front door is locked by a very easy lock, which should be easy to open since we have around 12 thievery skill at this point. To pick a lock, you need to move the cursor around until you see the yellow ball grow bigger. Once you've found the sweet spot, it will glow bright. Press D to begin rotating the lock and use your mouse to keep the ball on the sweet spot until the latch reaches the exit at the top. One quick tip, it's so much easier to pick locks if you focus on the sweet spot and not the yellow ball. As you start to rotate, watch where the sweet spot moves. If the lock isn't turning, move the ball into the sweet spot that you're watching closely. If you watch the ball instead, it's so much easier to lose track of things and fail the lock pick. If you watch the sweet spot instead, you'll be able to quickly notice if the lock isn't turning and make adjustments to catch up or slow down. The key here is to keep the lock turning smoothly, which you can fix by moving the ball faster or slower to keep pace with your sweet spot vision. Once inside, pickpocket all 5 occupants and take everything. Then loot both chests with the keys you stole. The loot here isn't amazing, which is why this is optional, but I wanted to at least try to get a few people to try lockpicking since it's not as scary as it seems, especially if your thievery skill is high enough.
Gotcha.
The last step is to head back home to the mill to the west, which you can get to from this road. Take everything off your horse, head upstairs to your shared chest, and drop off all the stolen loot once again. This time, we're grabbing all the books and food we can carry. Go back to the second floor and sit at the table. Open up your inventory and click on the Books tab. We're going to read every single book we have. Even if you don't plan to use the skills from the book, it will still grant speech and scholarship XP. On top of that, the time passing will help launder the stolen items quickly so we can use them. After reading several books, you'll see a pop-up saying you can't read anymore. Simply press T and wait for 6 to 12 hours, and then you can continue reading. Don't worry about being tired, but do make sure to eat when you're hungry. Once all the books have been read, go back upstairs, drop off all the books back into storage, and go to sleep in the bed up to 100% energy. This will also give us a save file. By the time you wake up, everything in the chest should have lost its stolen status except for the expensive saddle we stole from the mill. This will take close to 2 weeks in total to launder. Grab all the gear you plan to use, swords, bows, axes, etc. Make sure to upgrade your clothing to the stealth gear we took from Crazel as well. The best ones I found were the black cleric's hood, miner's cap, black embroidered shirt, riding gloves, black hose joined, and the simple shoes we already had on from before. All the important stealth stats should be around 20 or lower, which is very close to the best in slot items you can find throughout the entire game. It won't get much better than this. Don't forget to upgrade your horse's tack to legally owned stuff, and when the better saddle clears its status, equip that as well. It's at this point I'll turn you loose on the Troskowitz region. You've got a ton of cash, gear, and skills to proceed with your campaign. I'll give a few more tips depending on what you want to focus on. If you want to continue to steal, visit all the towns with vendors and repeat what we covered already in this guide. If you want to improve your melee combat skills, head back to the Nomad camp during the daytime and find Tomcat to train and learn the Master Strike. If you're interested in ranged combat, grab a bow or crossbow and head to the west of Takov during the day, speak to the Huntsman's son, and compete in archery competitions. If you feel like this guide went a bit too fast, or you want to pick up some extra tips, you can watch the long version by clicking the video on screen. Thanks again to World of Warships for sponsoring this video. Check the link in the description for huge bonuses. As always, thank you to the YouTube members and Patreon supporters who help keep the channel running. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.